Good afternoon, everyone. Um, Happy Thursday. It's our Friday for this class. Um, we have the intention today to go through basically the structure of the class and the expectations of the class. I'm recording this and we'll be posting it, so if you need to go back and revisit anything that we talk about, we're going to go through a lot of material here. Just giving you the basically breakdown of D2L and the syllabus, D2L being eLearn, in our course shell. We looked at this front page on excuse me, on Tuesday, and let me share my screen again. I hate sharing my screen means I don't see your chats or your names, basically. So that's the unfortunate part of sharing screens. But let's do that because it's necessary. Let me see if I share it from a different direction. All right, so what we have is on the front page. First off, let me stop and ask: is there any initial questions before we go delving into the structure and the expectations for the class? Anybody have any? Yes.
I noticed with the quizzes, you kind of have them like blocked up into sections where like one or two are due on a certain date. So do we just like do those as we please by that certain day?
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're going to get to today. Very good question. I hope to answer all those kind of pragmatic how to and what to do sort of questions. So hold on. We will get there.
Okay, thank
Um, yeah. So let's look at this. All right. So what we have is a entranceway into course contents. If you look at the front page here, but I want to point out before we go into the course site. On the front page, you have obviously my name linked up. You have my office hours. So when you see this, these office hours, this does not mean that I'm in my office. This is my virtual office that I keep, which is the WebEx virtual link. I'm not hanging out in there. That's not what I'm between Monday between 10 and 3. I could be in meetings. I could be in class actually. So actually, I wouldn't be in class. My class ends at 10. So, but between 10 and 3, administratively, I could be called into a meeting for whatever reason. I'm the faculty senate president, so I'm kind of from day to day, I'm responding to meeting demands. But so but I will say this is during the frame that we could possibly, you and I could meet individually on an individual basis. And this typically is an appointment basis. Tuesday, same thing. I got my windows here of when I should be around my computer, and if you send me an email during this time, I'm checking eLearn, not every hour, but I do check in. Calling me, however, is really the best way to access me during these times. 697-2587. That's my office phone. And our new phone system is pretty cool because this is an actual campus line, but it will call my computer at home. So WebEx, we have a system called WebEx that it allows us to be on campus, but at home by our phone. So that's that. I've got the eLearn help link here, which if you have any technical problems with eLearn, this is really important to be aware of. But even more help, I've got a bunch of help down here actually. So eLearn help, of course, is redundantly placed here as well. But a lot of people don't realize that our campus has lots of like real world help available, and including starting with things like this Helping Hands Fund right here that is you can apply for emergency relief or maybe a bill. Um, um, During this time period, if you lose your EPB, it can be devastating. So if you have a bill that potentially might prevent you from taking classes online, but even electric bill, the school has a foundation that has funds set aside for students who have any sort of needs. Food as well. So if you jump down to the Tiger Cupboard, jump up here, the Tiger Cupboard, this is, we have emergency food supplies on campus in Student Center, Student Center 125. There's a phone number there. This is what we call the community market. So yeah, I've got, and then we have the career clothing connection, which is in career services. Also, I believe that's in Student Center. Oh yes, it is 216. And what they can do is help you if you have a job interview, if you have any clothing needs. They have an arrangement with the Northside Center in North Chattanooga, and they get clothes delivered from there every so often. I've got the writing center here. We've got to write a paper for this class, so we have tutors on campus with writing. Now what they will do is they'll help you with your grammar and your structure of your writing, but they're not going to help you do your research. They'll help you with possibly writing your citations, your formatting, but as far as doing the research, that is on you and the content of your research. Library resources, math center, if you're having to jump the general education math hurdle this semester, success coaches for advisement. So yes, those are resources I have on the front page. Also have a major resource for some of you that who might not have your Wi-Fi set up at home. There is hotspots on campus now, multiple hotspots on campus. They're around town as well, locations around town. So you can also apply for technology requests if you have needs of any sort of technology. All that is embedded in this little module on the front page if you want to look at that further. Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I want to cover on this front page. Are there any questions about this front page? Okay, so let's go into the course content here. As you can see, the front thing that you see in course content is the Getting Started module. So course content is where everything lives as far as information and assignments. They're all linked up in this page. This is kind of the master page that you'll be referring to. So here you have the syllabus, which we're going to look at today. You have some information about me. You have the textbook living here, and you have the initial semester reflection paper living here. So this is, we'll be looking at the assignments that are due, and I'll talk more about that. But you have 4 assignments that you need to do, and this is really I guess you could say there's six possibilities of these assignments. So you could do all 6 and get extra credit for doing 2 more than you're expected, but you're expected to do 4. I think this is one of the easiest ones, and this is the beginning of the semester reflection paper. And if you open that up, you'll see that there's a series of questions that I'm asking of you. Open up the document. So this is just a let me get to know you sort of paper, and it's short. All these papers should be short, and there's some of them reflections and some of them are exercises. But I'm asking you, 1, tell me your story, why you're here, what assets and challenges do you have in succeeding in school, and then answer the following with an image, word, phrase, or whatever reveals what you think. What I think of anthropology, I think of blank. So it's a reflection paper. So yes, back to getting started. And going over to the left column here, you see if anybody's new to this, I'm speaking to you as if everybody is new. However, I know many of you, this is old news. You're very familiar with D2L, but down on the left side here, you have basically the modules, and you can click on any of these modules at any point to jump ahead and see what's in them. Extra credit assignments, the research paper, which we're not going to look at probably in detail today, but we'll glance at it. And then back to getting started. And then down here, you have Unit 1, where you have Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 5, because I grouped 1, 2, 3, and 5 together. And so if you go into each chapter, you'll see that first off, in each chapter you have the PowerPoint, a PowerPoint, which parallels what we're going to use in class, which is a Prezi, the link to the Prezi. And I have a study guide. For every one of the chapters, there's a study guide. Highly, highly recommend that as you're reading your book, your textbook, to be using this study guide to follow along, because when you open up the study guide, it'll have a list of questions and learning prompts for you to frame your reading. It can actually help you read a little bit more efficiently. You'll see. So each chapter has a study guide. And so yeah, you go down. There's videos that some of these we're going to be looking at for each chapter. There's a video too that we, like I said, we may or may not use. But if you want to geek out on one of the subject matters, they're here. Chapter 2 as well. It's got videos. It's got the same format, the same formula of PowerPoint, Prezi, study guide. And for each chapter, you have a chapter quiz. And these chapter quizzes are, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. These quizzes, we'll look at a little bit closer when we go through the syllabus, but they cover obviously one chapter, and they're open for a period of time, which we'll look at the calendar for how these are organized. But you can see the time date, January 19th, which they're open now. This chapter 1 quiz will be open to the 11th of February, so you've got a good amount of time. So yes, this is the first module. Unit 1 has these chapters grouped together, and if you go up to and press on Unit 1 itself, you'll see that Unit 1, the module for the first exam, you have links For the potential essays on the exam, you have a link for the first phase of our research paper. You have a link for the exam itself, and then you have a link for the assignment for this module. So like I said, we're going to look at this from the angle of the syllabus in a minute, but this is the organization of each of our units. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and ask if there's any questions at this point. Okay. I think this. Maybe I should start with the syllabus and then look at this course shell. That's how I usually do it, but I thought I would try it differently. Another way to get to those exams and quizzes and assignments is by opening up activities, and you'll see underneath activities you'll have a link for the assignments. So you have all the quizzes for the first module right here. Underneath assessments, you have the exam, which this is I need to probably that is supposed to be Unit 1 exam. I need to so you'll have the unit exams here, and you'll have the quizzes. So yes, and if you look at the Dropbox, which you'll be using to load up your assignments, you'll see that in the Dropbox you have the reflection papers and the exercises. You have the research paper. This is where you're going to be loading up your research paper, and this is an extra credit assignment that you can use. I have lots of extra credit built into this course for those who so choose to partake in it. So yeah, I think that's all. One other really important, I think, place is to be aware of is the tools. You have the class list.
I hate to interrupt you, but are you under the impression you're still on screen share?
Thank you so much. I wish I could look at the full screen and see y'all at the same time, but I completely lose my visibility for y'all. So I'm going to go back to sharing. Thank you. So let's go back to Dropbox. Dropbox it's got the reflection papers and the exercises down here at the bottom. You've got the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the research paper, and you've got the extra credits. This is where you'll be loading up your assignments, your extra credits, and your research paper. Then if you go to tools, you'll see the class list. Class list has everybody that's in your class, including me. So this is where you can email me, email any of your fellow students, communication. And I think that is where we will stop as far as exploring eLearn for now, but unless somebody has any questions about this, we'll be coming back to eLearn after we get through with the syllabus. Any questions? Okay, so let's look at the syllabus. All right, so here you have front page of the syllabus. Scroll down. This is just for your information. Again, more about me, welcoming statement. But real information that you need to be aware of is down here. I have a link to the textbook underneath the textbook here. You have the student. Goodness, I've got something in my throat. Forgive me. You have the student learning outcomes, which are really just basically what I want you to walk away with from this course. And I'm going to read these because I think they're important enough to consider as we're starting the course. So student learning outcome number 1, demonstrate an understanding of culture. I think some of you are going to get pretty tired of that word culture, but that is the main subject of this course. We're going to explore the ins and outs of culture, how it changes, how it continues, and how it is created, as far as how it is actually impacts our own individual perspective of the world, the worldview. Number 2, explain and evaluate the premises, assumptions, viewpoints, and causes of ethnocentric bias. Ethnocentrism is something that we will greatly explore with reflection upon how it is created by culture, and how culture in our ethnocentric, which is putting ourselves at the center of the universe, basically, and putting our cultural perspective of the world as the priority, and as the in a sense, hierarchically, you could say a evaluation of other cultures with your own culture as the centerpiece. Number 3, describe and the broad scope of the history of anthropology. So we will talk about the history and how it has changed over the time, and both its theory and its practices. Number 4, we're going to compare and contrast diverse cultural practices, and so again, looking at other cultures, and but we typically, what I typically do is I start by looking at our own culture, and then we expand out to looking at other cultures and how it relates to our own culture. Number 5, we're going to demonstrate a global cultural awareness that can inform future evaluations of the world, basically, and of global issues. So this is something that the competency that I really hope that you can gain from this course is a critical mindedness, critical thought, being able to question sources of information, being able to evaluate what is happening in the world a little bit better, as far as looking at understanding when you hear information about another culture, to be able to set your own judgment aside a little bit, and to be able to critically analyze. Number 6, demonstrate an understanding of how anthropologists study culture. So you're going to conduct a short little ethnographic research paper that will reflect that ability, that understanding. So I've got some suggestions on how to study. You can reflect upon those in your own time. It's based upon research on how people retain information best, and this is just your own FYI that I feel like everybody has their own mode of studying, own strategy of studying, and some of us who are so busy don't have the ability to actually to have the time to spend 12 to 15 hours on a course at a time, so you kind of we all have our own different abilities and frameworks, but I've got some suggestions here that may or may not be of use to you. So assessments. This is where we get into, I guess, the good stuff. The exams. So these exams are typically they're made up of most of the questions are going to be multiple choice, true, false, but there will be 3 to 4 essay questions that will, short essays, not long essays for sure, but short essays that will reflect. I telegraph what essay questions I ask. In fact, I have a list of essay questions in each of the modules. So the essay questions, I give you a list, and I'll select from that list 3 or 4. You can answer all of them, or you can answer, if there's 3, you can answer 2 and answer a third for extra credit. If there's 4, you can answer 3 and answer a fourth for extra credit. So those essays on the exam themselves, you get to choose, and you can answer all of them and get extra credit. Okay, so yes. Any questions at this point?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So about the textbook, it says we can buy it or redeem it with a code. So are we supposed to have a code?
So if you want to just have the online textbook, that what's called Rebel, which you don't have to have, you buy the code. If you want a hard copy textbook, you can order that as well. So the bookstore has our textbook. They're supposed to have our textbook on the shelf. So that is, yeah. There's and you can also rent it. You can rent the textbook. So yes, the Rebel is an online platform that that allows you to explore the textbook electronically, of course, and it also has a reading. It has an audio component to it that you can have it read to you.
Oh, sorry, I'm just confused because it says we can either buy it or use an access code. We can use an access code or buy instant access.
Right. You buy the code itself, and it gives you the code is what you purchase, and use to access it, or you can buy the hard copy itself.
I think he's getting confused. There's Chat State offers codes for people that aren't financially able to purchase the book themselves. I think that's what he's referring to, is that access code.
Oh, okay.
Because the way it's worded on the thing makes it sound like that we get one, but it has like a little parentheses that says it's for people with financial needs.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No, I mean it says temporary access options for financial aid available.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, now I know. Now I know what you're talking about. The temporary access. So that is, if you don't have your financial aid yet, you can. They will let anybody have access to Revel, the online platform, for free for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
I mean I see that. It's just so I'm at the site right now, and it says get online access, and I can either do the 14-day temporary access, or I can hit redeem or buy. So
right. If you have a code, if I'm not mistaken, you hit redeem. If I'm not mistaken. Yes.
And you buy that code from from the bookstore.
From the bookstore.
oh,
Right. Exactly.
okay, so it's the code
You can
if
buy
you
it
get
on
it from
their
the
website.
bookstore.
You can buy it on the
You can buy
website.
it from. If you get it from their website, I price checked it. It's actually a little bit more expensive than from the bookstore. So, just so you know.
Yeah. There is another alternative if you want to bypass the whole, both the bookstore and the Pearson website. You could buy it online on Amazon, or used, hard copy, that is. But of course you lose access to your financial aid money.
Yeah, I see.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't being clear. Thanks for everybody's help on that. Is there any other questions about the textbook? Okay, so exams and quizzes. So you have four exams, 4 modules. Every chapter has a quiz, and you take these quizzes within the time period that we cover a module. So if we're covering a module for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, you have all the way up to the exam time to take the quizzes themselves. And the quizzes there are some overlap with the questions on the quizzes, with the questions on the exam. So these quizzes are in a sense study mechanisms for yourself, and you can take these quizzes as many times as you like. There is a pool of questions that the quiz draws upon, and so the more you take the quizzes, you might start seeing the same questions after so many times. But they make you go into, some of the questions are pretty specific. The ones that are very specific and make you have to go into the textbook to read to find the answer, those typically are not the kind of questions that you'll find on my exam. I tend to not cover like specific dates or specific numbers. General themes is what I tend to call on my exam. But these quizzes sort of make you, and that's why I say typically take these quizzes as you're reading. And like I said, you can take them as many times as you want, and after you're done, the system selects the highest score on the quiz and keeps that. So, any questions about quizzes? All right, so the research paper. We will go into the research paper in more detail later in the, probably next week. But it is a 3-phase paper. Instead of just having you turn in a paper at the end of the semester without anything to give you as far as structure on building, I've broken it into 3 phases to help you, in a sense, organize your research. But it is one final paper, and that paper is about 1,500 words, I believe, and it's about 3 pages. It's not that long, but it's going to be based upon you picking a culture that you want to research, and within that culture, you will select a practice, like, for example, marriage practices or kinship practices or economic practices, something that they do, and you will relate that to the values of their culture and explaining the connection of, basically explaining why they do what they do based upon the values that they have. So it's a research paper that actually starts with the first phase is a self-reflection of your own culture. So the first phase is actually just you talking about yourself. You're not doing any research. You're researching yourself, basically thinking about yourself. So, and then the second phase, you start to plan your research into another culture. So, yeah. So that's the final paper itself. You'll be combining your own reflection on yourself with your investigation into another culture. Okay. Any questions about the research paper at this point? Like I said, we'll go into the details and the weeds of that paper sometime next week. So like I showed you in the Dropbox, we have 4 assignments. And these are short assignments. They're not, one of the assignments, for example, is to, when we look at language, is to create a new word that reflects your experience of Chattanooga State, that a new word that nobody has ever heard of, that you came up with, but that has meaning to you based upon your experience in Chattanooga State. That's one example. So another example would be, have you do a kinship diagram. You diagram your own family, your family tree, basically, and evaluate it a little bit. So yeah, these are not, they should be fun. I try to make them fun and to be a way to explore what we're learning through the semester. I think I have 6, and they might become more. I don't know. We'll see. I think of one every semester new, but you only have to do 4, and you could do all of them for extra credit. Again, this is another avenue for extra credit. And I've got the deadline set up on Dropbox for these. Your attendance. I do pay attention to attendance. I have, excuse me, I have relaxed my attendance policy where I used to tie it to points, but I know the students who are participating in the class and who are present in class. And at the end of the semester, when I'm looking at grades and somebody has a borderline grade, for example, from a C to a B or B to A D to C, etc. I look at the attendance and say, this person has been really showing up and trying, and I give them a bump up, to say the least. So yes, this is attendance virtual version for me. When it's on ground, I have a participation card that I let students get points for participation. I tried that a little bit, experimented with that last semester, and it just is, it's not doable. Maybe by next year I could come up with something, but we're just going to get through this semester with the assignments as we have them now, and call it quits. So that's the 4 areas of points that we have. You have the exams, the quizzes, the research paper, and these assignment reflection papers. Okay, and so if you look at the breakdown, also extra credit. I have that one misrepresentation documentary, and it's listed in course contents as well. I've got a link for it in course contents, yeah. So just to look at the points here. To break down the points, you have 540 points. And how you tell your grade throughout the semester, my system is at the end of the semester, if you make 500 points out of 540 for the semester, then I will divide 540 into 500 to get your percentage. And so at any point, so if we've taken one exam and we've had 3 quizzes, those quizzes are 5 points each, 15 points, and these exams are 75. So if you do the math, that's 90 points that we'll have. So divide what you made on that exam and those quizzes by the number 90, and you'll get the percentage of where you stand. So obviously, if you need help with knowing where you stand throughout the semester, I do a midterm grade that lets you know where you are based upon assessments we've had. I do a early alert if somebody that I see that's falling off early in the semester. I'll give you a heads up that we need to talk and just to check in with anybody that's falling behind. I try to do that through the semester. So. But always come and talk to me if you are feeling ambivalent about where you are with the course as it has progressed. And I love to meet with individuals in my office hours. So here's an important area to be aware of, and this is the due dates. This is the calendar. And I have each week somewhat set up. This is today and Tuesday and next Tuesday. We plan on covering Chapter 1 and Introduction to the class. We have Chapter 2. We don't cover Chapter 5 formally. I have a couple of pages that I want you to read, but you can take the quiz for Chapter 5, but the exam will not cover Chapter 5. The exam will cover Chapter 2 plus some excerpts from Chapter 5, some subject matter of Chapter 5. And those will be obvious when we're covering the Prezi. Each chapter I have a documentary, or each unit I have at least one documentary. Documentaries are some of them are just clips, but this one, for example, Seasons of the Navajo, I intend to watch that in full, if not, but majority of it, and I intend to watch it in class if it's possible. I might have you watch some of the documentaries or some sections of the documentary on your own at home. But like you see, I've got Man Called Bee. So here in the first unit, I've got a pretty ambitious agenda to actually have 2 documentaries watched, and that is Man Called Bee and Seasons of a Navajo. I think I have a question. Let me see what's going on with the questions. I thought there was I'm sorry, there was a message sent to me through MS Teams. It's not a chat. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so here in the first unit, we talk about, I basically introduce the topic of culture, and culture is turned inside and out in these first 3 chapters. And as you see, all 4 quizzes that you could take are due on the 11th, and that's how I organize all the quizzes. All the quizzes are due at the end of the module. There are, I think, 14 or 15 quizzes you can take. There's 50 points, so if we go back to our point total here, and this is kind of important, I always get asked this, quizzes are worth total 50 points. Each quiz is worth 5 points. So there's 14 or 15 quizzes you could take. So you could make a lot of extra, you could make 15, 20 points extra credit by taking all the quizzes and making 100% on each of the 15 quizzes. So you can come out with a substantial number of extra credit points there. So 10 quizzes will give you 50 points if you make 100% on those 10 quizzes. So you can take your 10 quizzes, get your 50 points, and call it a day. Or you can continue taking them, which I hope you do, because they're good learning mechanisms. Exams are listed here. Ethnographic paper, phase 1 is listed here as far as the due date. In the second unit, we look at language, we look at economics and subsistence and how people feed themselves, basically, and how people make a living. So that's kind of the language is kind of on its own. It's its own sort of subject, but these 2 subjects, making a living and economic systems, are interrelated to each other, and I tend to teach them within a very fluid way. They sort of interact with each other. And for each of the units, as you see, I have a reflection paper here, an exercise here. And so we go into the third unit, third module. You have the subject matter is very much about family and about relationships, kinship, gender. All these 3 are very interrelated because gender roles are very much defined by how we define our families, our kinship, as you'll see. So got a couple of exercises. Kinship pedigree here. Imagine that your gender has changed for a day. These are fun. Supposed to be. So that's the third unit. Fourth unit, we delve into the world of politics and equality, conflict, which is supposed to be solved by politics, but politics induces conflict today like we have never seen. And speaking of conflict, we have religion, and to end our semester. As you see, I don't have any new exercises for this unit at this point. I might come up with one. This is where we might have a 7th exercise that you might have a chance to participate in. Final exam is, again, like all the exams. I open them up after we finish the last chapter, and I keep them open. Like in exam number 3, I keep it open till the 12th. So it overlaps when we start chapter 12. I give you about 4 or 5 days to take each exam. Um, so any questions about the schedule? No questions. All right. All right. So instructor policies, very simple. Um, try to read all the pages. Or try to read all the assignments. However, use my study guides to help you read. It's all about time management. I hear, I'm going to hear from you, but semester to semester to semester, I hear students say that the most difficult thing about being in school is time management. And I hear you. I'm right there with you. I feel time slipping away with tasks undone all the time. And it can be stressful and overwhelming. But, however, you know, the most important thing that I found as a student to help me succeed was to try to work ahead when you have a chance and to plan ahead. So it is about structuring your time, organizing your time as best as you can. Like I mentioned before, number two here, technology. We have computer services on our campus. We have a student device checkout request form link here. Um, Respect. Now, this is something that I really have not had a problem with in virtually, but I've heard other professors speak to this, that they've had issues um, with etiquette on the virtual platform. You know, it is that chat can be a little bit of a rabbit hole to go down. Just keep the subject of chat to what we're talking about in our class. You can chat with each other, but keep it based upon what we are covering. It is all about finding boundaries with our personal life. We have our computers. Some of us have our windows open to. I mean, our we have our life and our background here. So, edit out what doesn't need to be seen and what is appropriate, and we'll be all good. Okay, so respect. We're gonna be definitely disagreeing potentially with each other, and that is fine. We have to sit with disagreement and be okay with it. Um, and the big thing is not to judge, and not to impose one's own belief system onto others. So again, we have to sit with disagreement and be okay with it. So yes, I will be as efficient and effective as I can with your time, and I will also be grading your assignments as efficiently, as effectively as I can, so you can get feedback, so that you can improve as you progress through the semester. I will say this, I look at students and at the end of the semester and I see how they've done, how they've progressed, and if one thing I always give sort of I guess when I'm grading and I'm looking at the final grade, I look at how students have improved over the semester, and if they have, then I know that that's to me is great value. Because I'm one that came from a big hole of, remember, 1.4 GPA in my sophomore year, and I just continued to peck away at improving as a student. And it's hard to start a new class. A new class always has a bunch of rules and standards that are new, and so I give the benefit, to having a slow start, and then to build and to understand throughout the semester what's expected and improving upon oneself. So that's something that I want to keep in mind, you to keep in mind as you are working on your class here in my own course. So I will do my best to interact with you and to keep the courses interactive. It's a challenge for me, to keep the and for all faculty to keep it interactive. I'm going to try to work on some small group work and see how that goes. Teams now has the small group option. Yeah, I think that's the syllabus, and that's what I want to cover about the syllabus. Are there any questions about the syllabus in general? Okay, so let's close that out. And I think what I would like to do at this moment is try to be interactive. And if everybody could, that is paying attention, could get their phone or open up another window, and let me share this with you. And this is my first attempt at doing a Menti, which is kind of a new buzz thing that's being passed around from faculty, and it's yeah. I had a presentation happen last week with with somebody, an administrator who was using these, and I was pretty impressed. So if you could open up www.menti.com. Give everybody a moment to get there and use the code 470806 and 0. And I want you to respond to this question in this moment. How are you feeling about this class? Okay. Okay. Got one stressed, two at peace, one feeling like they got 5, they got it. No confusion. That's the one I'm really happy to not see. But the stressed one, let's if you're stressed, please come talk to me. And let's talk it out. Let's talk your stress out. Cool. I'm liking what I'm seeing. We only got about 14 people in class today, so all right. Is there anything that anybody wants to talk about in this moment? All right. I am. Samantha says she is confused. It's her default setting. Well, yeah. You know what? It's definitely when you're trying to piece together a busy life. That's kind of that's part of it, I think. But hopefully we can diminish the confusion when you come to this space in our classroom. All right. Yeah, I believe that I don't want to go delving into the paper, which I sometimes do, and I don't want.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
So with the exams, and I'm not sure if you already said this and I missed it, but it's just mainly the books. I know we have like the documentaries and some videos to watch. Will those ever be like on the exams, or are those just more for our key understanding and developing our?
Very good question. Very good question. Let me go back into the shell again, to the course site. If you go into course content, and you open up, let's just do module 1 here. So the essay questions here, if you open up the essay questions, and the answer yes is that the documentaries are part. If I spend a big chunk of time covering a documentary, in class, so it is definitely going to be part of the exam. And typically, what I do is I have I have essay questions that cover the documentaries, because we talk about the documentaries. You know, documentaries are really valuable to me because they provide a window into other cultures without traveling to those cultures. It's the the tool, the most prevalent tool that anthropologists use is what we call ethnography, and ethnography is how we study other cultures, and so one expression of ethnography is our videos and documentaries. So yes, that definitely is an important ingredient to this course. The textbook and the documentaries are the two sources of, um, of you could say, for the exams. So yes, I have a list of essay questions for each of the exams, and you know what I suggest is to answer these questions and have them ready for when you go into the exam, and literally copy and paste your answer into the exam. In other words, you can answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions, and there'll be 3 of them or 4 of them on the exam. And like I said, you have to answer all but one, but you can answer the extra for extra credit.
So it's only these like essay questions, like nothing else. So like I don't have to like take a bunch of notes on the documentary other than just like what I need for
Okay,
the essay questions.
right, yeah. So let me show you for each. No, I'm not. There are a couple of multiple choice questions for one or two of the documentaries. But let me show you for each documentary. For example, let's go into videos for Seasons of Navajo here. So this will be the first documentary that we cover, and I have a viewing guide for Seasons of Navajo. And so if you open up this page, you'll see that it has. And these are the topics that we'll cover from the documentary. So this is the viewing guide, and we'll cover this. So we'll talk about these. So it's the framework for which you need to take notes on the documentary. But again, when we watch the documentary, after we watch the documentary, we'll then discuss these questions. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I try to give as much structure as I can to diminish that stress. All right. So now that we've gone through the syllabus and we have looked at basically what to expect. Hopefully these modules make more sense to you. Here you have a link to the exam. You have a link to the assignment. You have a link to phase 1 of the paper, phase of the 3 phases. You have the essay exam questions. And here we have just general links for that are kind of related to the subject of each module, but not something that will be necessarily you'll be examined on, you'll be quizzed on. So yes, I believe we have covered all that I want to cover today. And so Tuesday we will cover chapter 1. It's a fairly short chapter. And you'll see chapters tend to sometimes overlap with each other. So if we don't finish all on Tuesday, it'll carry over to Thursday, as most of you are probably familiar and used to with professors and how we are. So, all right. So a lot more fun. There'll be a lot more interesting stuff to cover on Tuesday next week. So hopefully everybody will have a chance to have the textbook and get to started on the reading. I will hang out for another minute or two if anybody has any questions to ask after class. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
had the council.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thanks.